In comparison to the Hellbreath arc, the obvious dragon influence within the Hundred Years quest is staggeringly more so. Obviously, we have Alefsaria, this self-made dragon slayer. We have the Dragon Eaters Guild, Diablos, and we have the 5 dragon gods. And from that, I've been under the strong curiosity whether or not the Magna Carta is going to come into play at any point, because we know that the dragon gods and Acnologia, all the 6 of them, were very, very much inactive for the 400 years, where they could have at any point, as long as they didn't have interference from any of the other ones, take over the world really and just completely one-sided slaughter everyone. But I believe that the reason that Acnologia didn't act is because of the existence of these 5 others. Probably why he was seen at the end of Dragon Cry just wandering around aimlessly, and who knows where. Probably why Gildarts ran into Acnologia when he was on the 100 Years quest. Very likely, I think. I mean, why else would he in this in this journey to seal and take care of these 5 dragon gods, would he run into Acnologia? I think that's just a pretty strong theory right there. But everything we know about the Magna Carta of pretty much how the dragons will watch over the humans as they move from the age of dragons into the age of man. What could this really weigh onto when it comes to the current arc with the 100 Years quest? Because we know that the dragon gods all seem to have something about them of not really being involved with the events of the series and everything. As I said, the theory of why Acnologia wasn't acting beforehand, I think, was influenced by these 5 dragon gods. And we've seen some from Mercphobia, where he started to just kind of do his own thing and seemed to enjoy that the town worshipped him. And then, eventually he started to turn into a different path and wanted to make amends for all the crimes that he did and really just kind of get better. And with Ignia, was more towards he was waiting to fight Acnologia on his own whenever he felt ready, but through events, obviously Acnologia was down, and now he wants to fight Natsu. But what could the other 5 dragon gods be? What could they be like? Because what we've seen so far, Mercphobia was pretty much on the side prior to the Magna Carta of being anti-human, but instead of just eating them en masse, he seemed much more of using them as servants. The thing about Ignia just kind of seems like he doesn't really care. He doesn't seem concerned about humans. He just kind of seems like to do his own thing, to be whatever the hell he's feeling like at the time. I'm wondering if any of these other dragons are going to, they're going to give off their own methods of what they've been doing over the past 400 plus years. What have they been, what's been on their mind and affecting them that they haven't been acting, that they haven't been getting involved. And I'm wondering how many of them, if any, are going to be affected by the Magna Carta, because one of them could easily be a good dragon, and maybe they see, the end of all the violence as a good thing, and the Magna Carta being an aspect on that. Maybe they'll have something along the lines where they're still waiting on something about it. There's a lot to this very small moment kind of brought up thing. It was the last part naming of the Tartarus arc, and it in itself was referenced and brought up this pact between the dragons and the humans. But we haven't really heard anything since then. We never really heard anything about it from Acnologia. We never really heard anything about it from Irene or Elefsaria. But I think that if, we could explore a little bit more of it from maybe one of the dragon gods, or maybe somebody that directly worships one of the dragon gods, maybe works under them, we could get a lot more interesting story of exactly the war itself. Because one thing I would really like to see is if we could ever get maybe like a spin-off of, leading up to the Dragon Civil War, maybe like an Acnologia's rise to power, what it was like prior to the war and prior to Acnologia pretty much just ending the war on both sides by himself in such a short span of time. And where it really, the Magna Carta, like, what was it like being formed? What did it really impact towards the relationship at the time? Because we've only seen this very end long-term effect where the dragons ended up helping the humans again, but we haven't seen anything since then. And I feel like if it was not as dragon influenced as it is right now in the series, that you could just kind of like think that, well, it's not going to be relevant, it could be forgotten about, which would be a shame. But the fact that there's so much going on with the dragons and the Magna Carta, obviously a huge aspect between the coming together of the dragons and the humans. There's hopefully it's not even like there's a strong possibility. I'm hoping there's a strong possibility that we could see it coming about. And really, what exactly would about it could maybe affect the future? Because they talk about the age of dragons being over, but it doesn't have to be. The dragons can come back. We can still have more dragons existing in the world. They just don't have to all be these horrific, pretty much flying around disasters that destroy whatever it is they feel like and eat every single human that they just have the feeling of doing so. And this could be, that stepping stone further along the way. Maybe when we find just more dragons in general, they don't have to be dragon gods. Like, what if one of these dragon gods has more dragons, within their own domain, and they've been keeping them safe? And then, the Magna Carta could be relevant at that point, and we could see exactly how it will further push not just the story, but the effects on the whole world, between these two races that decided to come together, that though ultimately came to the downfall of one of them and what was the risk of the whole planet. But other than that, tell me in the comments what you think. Do you think it's a lost cause, or do you think, it could come back in this arc? I'm still hoping it does. I'm still hoping it is, because I feel like a lot of the facts that Ueda is he seems to be a fan of the series already. There's probably a lot of things that he remembers that he thinks would be interesting to put in the story, because obviously he's got some influence on what's going on here. Mishima, bro, he's got the leading control, but Ueda has something to bring to the table. But other than that, like I said, tell me what you think in the comments. Other than that, I'd really appreciate if you would thumbs up the video, befriend the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening.